So here's what we're gonna do. I got a couple things I gotta go over with you. I have something slightly different today for homework. I have got this, and I posted a copy of this up on Google Classroom. But here's the thing. I want you to cut out this math notes and stick it into your notebook. Okay? The book, I don't know what book you guys have been were using last year, or the last couple years. The book has these things called math notes. So I'm going to pass this out right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why don't one person from each table grab some scissors and some either glue or tape, check with your partner, ask them what they want? Why don't we do it right now? And then I'm going to explain to you, once you've got glue and tape, I'm going to explain to you about math notes. Go. Go, 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 go. If you don't have a notebook yet, you should cut it out and put it with your paper, but you should have a notebook for it by now. We've been in school almost 2 weeks. We need to get ourselves a notebook if we don't have one. All right, so cut out the big square thing. Don't worry about the practice at the bottom. Cut out the big square thing. It says math notes. If you were left-handed, I apologize. I have no left-handed scissors. So this becomes more difficult. If you're left-handed, you probably need to get used to going through the world having your own stuff, because nobody will have left-handed scissors for you.
All clubs are the worst. You only have right-handed.
That's true. Do they not make them, or you just have to special order them?
I don't know. My grandma, everyone in my family was right-handed except for me. So then I'll have.
Normally very hard to find left-handed golf clubs. My brother's left-handed.
Interesting.
He just special ordered like a whole set.
You have to really want to know that you're going to play golf. And how would you know if you never had a set of clubs?
I'm ambidextrous, so I do both.
Nice.
And then we want
us to keep the order of operations?
Well, I'll tell you that in just a second, so don't throw anything away quite yet. Maybe less talking, more cutting, and we can be done faster, huh? No. I was just mentioning to somebody who's, Lane, how come you haven't even started cutting? Because there's only one pair of scissors in the whole class?
It's another way.
Because you know you got like a whole box of pairs of scissors over there. Now we all have to wait for Lane. Oh, Lane. Everybody stared disapprovingly at Lane. You're a fast cutter? Good. Good. That helps. All right. While he's finishing cutting, let me tell you about math notes. In the math book that we are using, the one that you're only pulling out during class, about every second or third chapter, there is a block called math notes. They are recaps of stuff that either they expect you to know, in other words, order of operations, why we're practicing these things, or they're based on, hey, we just did this, and here's now what you just figured out over the last few sections or the last chapter, and this is what you need to know. So, for example, you think back to geometry. reflections, translations, rotations. There would have been math notes boxes in the geometry book with a little explanation of this is what a reflection is, this is what a rotation is, this is what a translation is. So because we're not taking the books home with us, because we're mostly just working out the worksheets now, you don't have access to like just open your math book and go, oh man, I don't remember exactly what was a translation, and then flip it open to the math notes. Oh yeah, there it is, and be able to do that homework. So I'm going to try to add these to the homework, and I'll do in class generally, have you cut them out, stick them in your notebook, and now you've got some extra notes, you got some extra reference, okay? Now, do you need to keep the little bit at the bottom that says order of operations practice? You do not. That part is your homework, but it's also on Google Classroom. So you don't have to keep that bit. You could just recycle the whole thing along with the bits from you cut out around the edges. Or if you want to just tuck it into your notebook so that you have it there when it's time to do homework, totally up to you. But it is on Google Classroom as well, marked as an assignment. In there as an assignment. That whole sheet that I just handed you is right in there. So. All right, so let's go ahead and put scissors and glue sticks away, scrap paper into the bin, bin's up there by the inbox in case you hadn't noticed before. And then we will dive into the next thing. So we've got about 10 minutes left before I want to do the quiz. So here's what I'd like you to do. Turn to page 591 in a book. So you'll need to grab a book, one per table. Grab a book. Page 591. And if I remember correctly, the sub told me that you were actually working on these problems when time ended?
Ish.
Ish?
I don't do a very good job at explaining.
Well, he's not a math teacher.
Yeah.
And so is what it is. So why don't we very quickly talk about problem A? Let's here, let's see if I do this, then problem A will be right at the top of my screen. Let's just talk about problem A and how this works. And then maybe we will feel a little bit better about the idea of the expression map. So let me erase this. And then I'll have you guys do some together. And then we'll see how much time we have left. Let's see what we can do without. We'll get them out again later, but let's see what we can do without. So the first thing with the expression mat, let's remind ourselves that we've got a positive side and we got a negative side. If something is on the positive side, we're just adding it all together. We got positives and negatives, but we're just adding them all together. So when we look at this, if we were using algebra tiles, the dark ones would be colors, the white ones would be reds. So what do I see right there? What shapes do I see right there? Go ahead, put your hands down. Think about it just for a second. Talk to your partner. Nate, what do you guys think?
The two X's
So you see two X's.
and 3 1 7.
So
No, it doesn't need.
how are you going to write that?
I think it's 2x plus -3.
Do we agree? Is there any other way to write that? Grace? Which is better from the perspective of the expression, Matt? What do you think? When we're just thinking about the expression, Matt, those are equivalent. I agree with you. But which one more accurately represents that match, do you think? Lane?
I like the top one because way more specific.
You're adding -3. Does that make sense to everybody? If it's on the top, we're adding it. If it's on the bottom, we're subtracting it. Now, what Grace has done, what probably many of you already had sort of thought of, is that, yeah, adding -3 is the same as subtracting 3. The idea here, though, is to start distinguishing between adding a negative and subtracting and start to recognize that they're the same thing, but that they can be written differently. If I want to add a negative versus subtract, we end up at the same place. But sometimes it's useful to think about it as two different things. And we'll talk about down the road about when that's sort of useful. So yeah, 2x plus -3. Do I need the parentheses? Can I write 2x plus -3? I can. We don't often, but sometimes you'll see it, especially as we're getting used to the notation. All right, good. Excellent, thank you. B, take a second, discuss with your partner. What would that look like if I was writing an expression for that expression, Matt?
That's good.
Let's see what we got. Grace, what do you think? -4 minus y? What do you guys think? Seeing some nodding. Let me highlight something here. What are we doing to the -4? These are negatives, right? Grace?
Since they're all negatives, wouldn't be minus -4 minus y, so it would be 4 minus y.
See the difference? We're subtracting the negatives and we're subtracting the y because they're all on the bottom. So yes, we could simplify. We're not going to right now. We're going to just leave it as, because we want to know what does this expression, Matt, actually say, and then we simplify. Anybody write it differently? Anybody see a different way to write it that's not just simplifying the -4s? What about this? Is it equivalent? Do we agree that it's equivalent? But what I've done is I've said I'm subtracting the whole bottom as opposed to subtracting each individual bit of the bottom. This is one that catches people because notice that that's going to become a positive, but also notice that that's going to become a negative, which is what Grace originally had. But I see all the time my students, if I say negative of 2x plus 4, people will and negative 2x plus 4. You see the problem? And this is why we start talking about with these expression mats instead of diving straight into the here's some algebraic expressions. Because when you see that, you think to yourself, oh, that whole parentheses is on the bottom of something. It's on the bottom of an expression mat, which means that I'm actually subtracting the 4 as well as the 2x. All right. Cool. Let's do this one very quickly. Question C. Go ahead and write an expression for C. Talk to your partner about it.
Negative x1 minus 2 plus 3x dx.
All right, we ready? Manishka, what do you think?
I wrote negative, so basically like subtracting, and then parentheses negative xy minus, and then parentheses minus 2 plus 3, and then there was also another way I wrote it.
Wait, plus 3?
Plus 3x.
Oh, 3x, okay, thank you. And then you wrote it a different way as well?
Yeah.
Go.
Negative parentheses negative xy plus 2 parentheses plus 3x.
Nice. We good with that? Yeah. I like this one better. I like the second one better. I feel like the first one, I mean, they're both true, but the first one has been sort of already partly simplified. Whereas when I look at it, I just look at, well, I'm taking all this stuff up here and I'm subtracting all this stuff down here. Well, if I'm subtracting all of it, why not just stick it in a parentheses and then write it all down? And that way I'm not going through and maybe making a mistake, but you know what? They're equivalent, so that's good. Cool. Very quickly. Last one. D, go.
Negative 1 plus 2 plus 2x minus 3. I think it's 2x. If we use plus, because sometimes I could add and then subtract. So we should add all the things and subtract it. So 2x is negative. Mr. Harmony,
Yes.
before you erase the board, can I take a picture of it so I can have it saved?
Yes. All right. Here we go. Let's see what we got. Alexis, you're up.
Negative 3
plus 2x.
Are we okay with that? Alexa's got everything on the list. There's one little thing I'm not a huge fan of, just because of the way the expression math work. What's the one thing that you think maybe I would change? Wayne?
Would combine the negative 3.
Well, that's later, right? Yeah, later on, we're gonna say, okay, now let's simplify. So I agree with you that we would now start combining. But just writing it down, subtracting positive 3, I'm okay with that. Adding 2, well, there's plus 2. What don't I like about minus 1? Priya?
2 plus 1.
Plus negative 1. Now, I know what you're thinking, or maybe you're thinking, but Mr. Humberding, plus negative is just subtracting, right? But think about these expression mats. Everything on the top is being added. Everything on the bottom is being subtracted. So Alexis's expression was 100% correct. But if we think about add all this stuff together, subtract all this stuff, we want to start with, well, I'm adding 2, I'm adding a negative 1, and I'm adding a 2x. And then we can start to simplify and say, aha, adding a negative is the same as subtracting. And then we get to exactly where Alexis was. So nice job. Nice job. But do be thinking to yourself, I'm adding all this stuff and subtracting all this stuff, because as we get more and more complicated and start to use these mats, it's going to be helpful to process mentally. Okay? So if you would like to take a picture of this, you could do that right now. But hurry, because we're running out of time. Because I am going to now ask you to get your Chromebooks out. I am going to just open the darn thing. If you go to formative, you can either go straight to just type in formative.com, or you can go to Google Classroom and click on the link. You should see any formatives that you have available to you from any class now on your screen. And you may start. Yes. 2 questions, fairly quick quiz. If it's not showing you that you have a formative waiting for you, click refresh. I've had people tell me that sometimes that happens. No, you're going to do this right in formative. Yes, yep. You guys know there's a stylus in your Chromebook, right? So you can write on the screen. You don't have to try to use the touchpad to write. What's that? Yeah. So yeah, just click share your work and then just sign your name right there. No, just write it right in there. Now, when you click show your work, it still shows you the question off to the side. Okay, good. Yeah, no, you're gonna just do everything right in, go formative. Nice. Here, minimize that. Show your work, and now you can write over here. Yes, yes. You guys, if you have questions about how to go forward work, tell me. I don't expect that. I'm testing you on math, not on computer programs. Yes. That's the question that's being asked that you're going to answer, Rick. Are they the same? Oh, that's just to show you what the tiles look like, just to remind you, because you don't have the algebra tiles out in front of you. Yeah. Yeah, guys, the diagram on these problems is just a little thing to remind you what the algebra tiles look like. You're simplifying the expression. The little diagram is to say, don't forget, here's what an x squared tile looks like, here's what an x tile looks like. Don't forget to show me your work. If you just write down the answer and you get it wrong and I don't know how you got there, I can't give you partial credit. So show me how you got to the answer. Yes. What's that? Yep. Yep. 2 questions plus the acknowledgement at the top. So 3 questions total, 2 math questions. If you were done, you could put your book away. Homework keys could be passed to the left and forward. All right, guys, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. You too. Bye now.